Shane, our barnstorming tour of former Arizona softball legends continues this week, but this one actually takes it to another level. So we had Taryn Moat on the other week, 2 weeks ago. We had Alicia Hollowell last week, and now we have the new head coach of the women's softball team and four-time All-American and silver medal winner and two-time national champion, Caitlin Lowe, joining us here on Wildcat Country. Caitlin, first of all, congratulations on your new gig as softball coach. I think what I want to know is you were on the field. You were just a tenacious player. It was so much fun to watch you. You would run into the wall full speed. You played with such reckless abandon. Are you like that as a coach too?
You know, I wouldn't say reckless abandon. I think you have to be a little bit more composed than that. And I think, you know, so much of our work gets done behind the scenes, and then it's time to let the players shine when it's game time. So I think that's the difference. Is I've always been a practice player and I'm always a practice coach. I kind of follow in Coach Candrea's footsteps that way. So I think the preparation phase I'm all out in, and then let the players shine come game time.
Coach, first of all, Caitlin, congratulations again. It's been very well documented, obviously, how much Coach Candrea has done for the sport and for the University of Arizona. Has it fully sunk in yet that you're now in that role that he held in Tucson for 36 years?
I think, yes, a little bit, because my plate has become a lot more full than it used to be. But yeah, it's just, honestly, it's such an honor just to even be in this role and have learned from the best to ever do it. And I mean to ever do it. And I might be a little bit biased, but I really don't think I am. He just is such a quality coach, but more importantly, a quality human. So it's an honor, and I think I took every little ounce he would give me of wisdom, and I know that he's probably going to be on speed dial in my phone for a while too. So excited for the future, though.
I remember when Sean Miller took over for another coaching legend at Arizona, Lute Olson. He always honored Coach Olson, spoke highly of him, but he also made the program his own, and for a while he certainly had success doing that. I'm sure you want to honor Coach Candrea's legacy, but how are you going to go about putting your own stamp on this program?
Well, I think absolutely we're going to honor his legacy. And in true Coach Candrea fashion, he was very silent up until the very last moment about this. And there will be times this year when we get to honor him as much as he might hate the recognition. But as far as my stamp, you know, the foundation has been laid. And I think that's what's important. You know, we have pillars to our program that means so much to me, to alumni, to current players, to future players. And that's not going to change. I think what's going to change is the message that I have, you know, in our huddle. I think that practice is going to look similar with a twist. Because there's always those moments where you have to read your team, right? You read your team, you figure out what they need. And in those moments, it's not going to be his decision. Now it's going to be my decision. So I wouldn't say that that's different. I just think that, you know, it's going to be me, but our staff as a whole making those decisions.
So going back to your playing days at Arizona, would you have ever imagined that you would one day take over this team? Was that always kind of your goal that, hey, I want to be a coach one day, or did this kind of come out of nowhere maybe 10 years ago?
Absolutely not. This was never, I mean, you don't come here and think that, I mean, really, I think every player comes here and thinks Coach Candrea will be the coach here for as long as, you know, we live on this earth. I think that's just how it is. This program is known by him at the forefront. So no, it was not my goal, but at the same time, I just know I love this game and it's my passion. So when I continued to play professionally, it was really hard for me to give the game up. And I didn't realize until I took my first job here that it wasn't giving up my playing career that was hard for me. It was giving up softball and giving up what that meant and being part of a team and all of that. So really, when I took my first job, it was so easy. People asked me if it was hard to retire from playing, and I said absolutely not, because now I get to live my passion through 20 players every year, which is really exciting for me.
When it comes to the recruiting element of softball, which is kind of different because it's not as publicized as, let's say, football or basketball, which we hear about, just kind of give us some of your strategy for recruiting going forward. I mean, obviously selling the tradition of the program, I think is fairly easy, but what kind of other strategies do you have in mind going forward?
Well, we're always about people first. I think that's something that's been passed on through Coach Candrea. So the relationships we build not only with, future players, but also their travel ball coaches is very important for us, because we know that when we commit someone, we're putting their development in coaches' hands too. So I think it's very important to have great relationships wherever you go, all throughout the country. So I think that's, the last 7 years I've been working really hard to develop those relationships. And it was kind of cool for me, because when you step back into the softball world, a lot of the faces are the same from when I was a player. So when I first went recruiting, I was like, wait a second, I know all of these people, they're still here. So it was really an easy transition for me, but then just kind of fostering those relationships and making sure so that you do get the call that, hey, I have this girl I need you to come look at, and you trust those opinions and trust that they're going to be developed all the way through.
Caitlin, between already being a member of the Arizona staff, and I'm guessing the fact that this has been in the works for a while, the transition there, are you confident that a lot of the underclassmen are going to you're going to be able to bring them back to next year's team?
Yes, absolutely. It's never honestly been a thought in my mind. I think we've developed great relationships with current players and future players. And really, it hasn't been in the works for a while. I think it's just, the matter of, I've never really thought about leaving this place. And I think that's the way I develop relationships with all of those players. So, so when I called them right after the announcement, it was a good transition. And I think they were excited for it, as most people were sad but excited. And I think that's exactly how I felt on Monday. I felt sad for the announcement and then excited for the future. So I think that pretty much sums up all of our experiences Monday perfectly.
I know you're adding a lot of seniors. You're actually going to be leaving. I know it's going to be difficult, but you're bringing a couple back, sort of, as graduate assistants, in Jesse Harper and Deja Mulipola. What are they going to add to the staff?
Wisdom, experience. I think if you look at our team competing next year, we have so much talent. We just don't have the in-game experience. And, when we brought in a freshman class that was so talented last year, and they kind of had to wait their turn because we brought back the seniors who had gone through COVID. And, it could have been a complete disaster. I'm going to be honest, because we had so many players and just not enough spots. And instead of it being, hard, it was actually a blessing in disguise. And this freshman class got to learn from a senior class who, not only are they talented, but they knew how to lead the right way. And they also passed on those skills to the freshmen, whereas they would have never crossed paths in the first place. So I think them being there will be awesome. And, they kind of get to be the people that throw confidence the way of the freshmen. And I think that's important, because if you look at Jesse and Deja, they just exude that confidence.
I want to ask you about your playing days at U of A. What would you say is the highlight of your playing career, playing for Mike Candrea at Arizona?
I think my favorite was probably my junior year when we won, or I guess no, my senior year when we won the national championship. Everybody said that we won it at the beginning of the year. They counted us out, and you just talked to Alicia Hollowell, you said, but she had just graduated, and she was just a force to be reckoned with on the mound. I mean, we didn't hardly get chances in the outfield because she just struck everybody out, right? Really easy to be an outfielder for her. But Taryn stepping in, she hadn't proven herself as the ace yet. And everybody just said we couldn't do it from the get-go. And I think we could have listened to that and rolled that way, but we had 15 people, 16 people, a smaller roster back then, but we were just so close knit, and we knew what it took to get back there and to be competitive in those moments. And I still, I joke to this day that I used to wake up in Oklahoma City, and the front of the newspaper every day had like a full page of Monica Abbott on the front of the newspaper. And then it would be like, oh yeah, and Arizona advances to the next game, But
I remember ESPN talking of Monica Abbott endlessly. Yeah, absolutely.
It was the Monica show. And that was fine with us. We took it as, in those moments you can take it as a challenge or you can get scared. And I think more than anything, we just were like, this is ours. Like, we took it as a challenge, and and she was throwing gas and she was on fire, and we knew we just had to score one more run than them. And we actually lost in the beginning of the series, but we didn't even really take it as just anything bigger than it was. We still had chances, still had outs. And credit to Taryn, man, that was, to watch that performance in the outfield, I'm just so proud of the person she became just within that week.
Yeah, she talked about it the other week, just saying how, her shoulder was pretty much gave out on day 4. And she's like, you know what, just got to get through it and keep going. And you just have to admire that. Just so cool. It's an amazing run just for us fans to watch. Mm-hmm. You talked about, nerves on the softball field. You seem like somebody who's never been nervous on the field ever. Would you say that's accurate? Or if so, what is the most nervous you have ever been on a softball field?
I'm always nervous. That's the funny thing. And it's controlling the type of nerves. And I always tell, our team, there's good nerves and bad nerves, and good nerves are the ones where you have butterflies in your stomach. They actually help you compete and raise your level of competition. You feel like you're in the zone and you're unstoppable. And then there's the bad nerves, right? The bad nerves are, I haven't prepared for this. I'm not ready. And I'm stepping on the field and I want to throw up, those are the bad nerves. So I've never luckily had the bad nerves. I always feel like I have the good nerves. And truthfully, if I don't have the good nerves, it's probably time for me to get out of the game, because I think that's what makes competing so special.
Coach, this program has always been great under Coach Candrea, but it was unstoppable for about a 17-year span when Arizona either won the national championship or was the runner-up in 12 of those years. Mm-hmm. Is it possible for Arizona or any softball program to return to that level of dominance, or has softball changed during your time from a player to now a coach to the point where a run like that just isn't likely to happen again?
I think it's possible. I think it's way harder. And the reason being, the talent is everywhere. It used to be you could point to a conference or two and say the champion was coming out of that conference. And it's just not the case anymore. Players are going everywhere, to every conference. And not only that, but there's great coaching at every conference, at every level, really. So it is way harder. I think that you're not just seeing your toughest games within conference in the postseason. Even our pre-conference schedules are loaded. So yes, it's difficult. Is it impossible? I don't want to say that, because that's all of our coaches. That's our goal for the future.
The last question for you, Coach, and we really appreciate your time. I know you're getting off to a busy start, and probably will be for as long as you're the head coach at the University of Arizona. We did along those lines. We did talk to Alicia Hollowell, like you mentioned last week, and she went into coaching herself for a while, but she decided to step away partly because of the demands of the job and how crazy busy you are all the time. How do you and your husband maintain that work-life balance? Because I know that, as a college coach at any level, it seems like you're always working.
Well, my husband, I couldn't have married better. I think I married up a little bit, but he is the most supportive person. He coaches soccer as well, so he knows the demands of the job. So when I have to call a recruit at 9 p.m., for an hour, he says, "How did it go? Did you get her?" He's not complaining, and I think we make it a family affair. He brings the kids to every game. Sometimes he travels out of town with us. But really, it really does take a village. My parents have been all in. They would meet me at stops when we were away from home and Harper was little. But I think just making sure that, one, we have balance, so when I'm at home, I'm a mom, and when I'm at the field, I'm coach. And just infusing the family into every little piece of it.
Well, it's just so cool, Caitlin, that you are now the head coach of the University of Arizona women's softball team. You were, as I said, just a phenomenal player to watch back in the day, and it's just cool to see, one of the top alumni, take over the program. It's in good hands, and we wish you the best of luck. Look forward to having you on the podcast here again soon.